Alrighty, I think it's time for a quick story time. Some years back, I remember scrolling through a website and stumbling upon this very timeline from Sony Pictures Animation, detailing some of the projects currently in the works for both families and adults. Films like The Mitchells vs. Machines and Wish Dragon were on the family side, but the adult side had some titles I was deeply intrigued by. The main one being K-Pop Demon Hunters. It sounded so bizarre to me, almost as if it were some cracked out anime name you find on Crunchyroll at 2 a.m. And the fact that it was probably going to be PG-13 told me this was something special to keep an eye out for, because it had the potential to be something, well, special. Some years passed, and I almost completely forgot about it until Netflix uploaded a reel on YouTube featuring upcoming animated projects coming to the streaming platform, including an extremely brief shot of a film called K-Pop Demon Hunters. Suddenly, I was reminded of how exciting the idea of this film sounded to me all those years back, and how eager I was to get a full trailer of some sort. By that point, I was absolutely floored by their work on Across the Spider-Verse, so to say that I was in for literally anything the studio put out would be a gross understatement, for better or for worse. And then, roughly a year later in May, we got our first trailer for K-Pop Demon Hunters, and I thought it looked good. It didn't give me crazy heights, but I thought it looked super solid and was looking forward to checking it out when it finally released in June. I remember telling my sister about it a day or two before it released, and she thought it sounded fucking stupid. So after some scheduling conflicts and work stuff that prevented me from watching it on its first 2 days of streaming, I finally found a window to watch it on the Sunday after its Friday release, and I thought it was okay. The film was nowhere near as big of a jump as I expected from Sony at the time, especially coming off the masterpiece that was Across the Spider-Verse. However, I still enjoyed my time with it overall and figured it would get a week or two in the spotlight before fading away and making room for Sony's next big project. But then one day later, after I came back from a draining shift at work, I found none other than K-Pop Demon Hunters playing in the living room, with my sister shouting to me, "Have you heard of K-Pop Demon Hunters?" Yes, that movie I figured would just fade into obscurity after a week or two had absolutely blown up on social media, especially TikTok. Golden was becoming one of the most hotly listened to songs in mere days, and it was as if a diehard fandom had just spawned out of thin air. I was dumbfounded, but I was ultimately happy for it. I did like the film, and I do think it had the ingredients to really click with certain people. Of course, at the time, even I didn't know just how far that initial spike in popularity would go in making the film the biggest pop culture phenomenon in the 21st century. The film went on to become the biggest film in Netflix history. Golden went on to become one of the most popular songs to ever come from a film, and the movie itself went on to become an Academy Award winner. That is one hell of a trajectory that most films could only dream of achieving. Now, I've been wanting to make a formal review for this film for quite a bit, and I even wrote my thoughts down about it a couple weeks after it came out, which I repurposed into a short form video for TikTok and YouTube. But now I felt that after the dust has settled and K-Pop Demon Hunters is simply chugging along from its high, it would be the perfect time to do the film justice and probably give it the review it deserves and decide once and for all, is it truly golden? So if you somehow don't know, K-Pop Demon Hunters tells a story about 3 gnarly demon hunters who take on the role of savvy pop stars in the morning and hunt and kill ferocious demons in the night, which goes rather smoothly until a demon boy band appears that threatens to destroy the honeymoon, which is the barrier that keeps the human and demon worlds from merging. The film is kind of like a mix between the Powerpuff Girls and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, presenting a comical superhero premise with an emphasis on high-octane action and an electric soundtrack, making for one of the slickest music-based action flicks of the past couple of years. K-Pop Demon Hunters is filled with fun, goofy, and expressive characters that really brighten up every scene that they're in. Honestly, if there's one positive takeaway from this film, it's the characters themselves. They're so enjoyable to watch and have some of the reddest character designs I've seen in an animated film in some time, specifically Huntrix. Each of the 3 members is very interesting in their own right and brings an energy to the table that really carries the film even through its lowest points. The movie carries a shockingly strong message about freeing yourself from self-loathing and the value in loving yourself authentically, which can deliver some emotional punches that you likely won't see coming in very specific moments. As far as the art direction is concerned, in an ever-evolving animation landscape filled with groundbreaking new films and creative integrations of the media's visual potential with bold methods of storytelling, specifically from Sony Pictures themselves, K-Pop Demon Hunters does a great job distinguishing itself from the current new wave of post-Spider-Verse animated works with a style that truly feels its own and doesn't rely on Sony's previous successes. This allows film to have a distinct visual identity, which the movie capitalizes on by using it to enhance key moments in the story that might not have had the same impact otherwise. It is clear that its visuals play a significant role in the movie's quality, but they don't stand alone, of course, as its incredible soundtrack enables the film to resonate with the audience in a way few other musicals in recent memory have been able to. Nearly every song in the movie serves to push the story forward in some sort of meaningful way. Whether that's via a key story beat or an integral character arc, its music never feels like a cheap simulator to keep you from dozing off while watching, but a well thought out aspect of the movie that elevates the viewing experience and cleverly fuses with the film's story to make it truly something special. It's honestly no wonder the soundtrack blew up the way it did, because it's quite possibly the most well thought out part of the film. Of course, despite all the good the movie does, some very glaring flaws certainly hinder the viewing experience and ultimately made my first viewing of it quite damp. For instance, the film's pacing can be far too fast to allow major plot points to sink in. Moments that could provide a meaningful development for specific characters or flesh out the story further are often glazed over and can make certain parts of the story feel rather undeveloped because of it. One of those parts in particular is the love story between Rumi and Ginu, which is quite possibly one of the most rushed romances I've seen in the film in quite a bit. The movie provides no space for moments of connection to breathe, and makes it a point to zoom right through the stages of budding enemies to lovers romance, going from mutual hatred to claims of being destined soulmates in seemingly no time, which makes it feel painfully artificial and guts any sort of emotional punch that specific parts of the film try to provide later in the movie. Even the big twist at the end revolving around it falls very flat, and it's all due to how comically shallow it feels. And to top it all off, its ending felt extremely lackluster due to how unbelievably predictable it was. The movie is structured around a very basic linear narrative that's been seen time and time again, especially in family films. You can tell exactly where the story is going roughly 20 minutes in, and while it doesn't hinder the enjoyment of the film all that much for a large portion of it, by the time it reaches its final act, it appears as though the story was about to take a shockingly unexpected and almost dark turn, which provided some sort of intrigue in the plot that wasn't quite there before. However, the build-up all amounted to an extremely by the numbers resolution that can't make you help but feel super let down due to how exciting the direction it seemed like it was going to take was. The ending was certainly not bad at all, but merely felt as though it worked and nothing more. It didn't provide this incredible culmination of everything that came before, but simply focused on making the movie's message as blatantly obvious as possible. It's not that doesn't work at all, but it just feels painfully bland and unremarkable, almost anticlimactic. And that's something I feel is consistent throughout the film. Aside from its visuals and music, I feel like a lot of the parts that make up the film work fine enough, but don't do anything at all special that makes it worthy of any unique attention in the sea of other competent family films out there. It feels like a generic kid's romp with a stylish coat of paint. It's not like how Spider-Verse engages families while also telling a story that subverts typical superhero tropes and makes an actual statement outside what's par for the course of a family film. It's just a fun time with an incredible soundtrack, wicked action, and quick enough pacing that keeps the youngins from dozing off. And from that perspective, it makes sense how it's blown up the way it has. Overall, it's safe to say that K-Pop Demon Hunters is a fun time that fuses irresistible style and bonkers action with an instantly likable cast of characters and a touching message of self-acceptance that works to create one of the biggest juggernauts in all of cinema. If you needed further proof that Sony is the indisputable king of modern Western animation, then here it is. They managed to turn a bizarre concept of Korean pop stars fighting anime-ass demons into a global scale phenomenon that broke practically every record it could, managed to cop prestigious awards for both the music and the film itself, and has now become a staple in 21st century pop culture. Even though as a movie it pales quite a bit compared to some of Sony's previous successes like Across the Spider-Verse and even The Middles vs. Machines due to some really awkward pacing, a poorly developed romantic subplot, and an extremely by the numbers ending, K-Pop Demon Hunters is more than worth checking out for all the fun that it provides audiences via its lovable characters, stellar soundtrack, and mesmerizing visuals. It's a good film for sure, even if it doesn't necessarily feel truly golden. Hey guys, I hope you all enjoyed the video. This one was a long time coming, and now I'm very pleased I got to complete it and put it up for all of you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!